Howdy, Practical Patriots and Practical Preppers. Yachate Gros aus Texas. Hey, folks, Giant Practical Nerds here. I'm inside of a tool shed, believe it or not, right now. And about every November, I like to come out here and like to sit out here for a while. You're probably wondering why that is. This tool shed was home for 6 years. I'm not kidding. And I have a lot of people that have asked me, what was that like? And I've also had people send me an email asking, Johnny, as standing as a prepper, what are your thoughts on, if I go out and buy me one of those tool sheds and move it out on like this property I have out there, that the tool shed that you get from the big box lumber store, and move it out there and kind of turn that into my my prepper getaway or whatever. And I kind of remember what it was like because my guilty sins. Some people like the brew. I like the true moo. Okay. I just remember back then what it was like, and there's a couple of things I want to tell y'all, and that is this. If you mean just like a place to go and stay the weekend and you have time to actually do a few things to it, I'm going to say that's a maybe. Because if you ask me if I had to do it all over again, the answer would be absolutely not. Now, again, that was what I would desire to not do. The time that it happened, which was, I want to say, well over 10 years ago, I didn't have a choice. It was all I had left. Basically, it came down to a matter of trust. And if I tell y'all anything that I hope you take away from this situation is trust no one completely with your money. I owned a small business. I was married at the time. And we're not going to get into the too heavy details on this video, but I just totally made the money and handed it to people and say, it's in the account. You pay the staff. You take care of the things at the home and stuff like that. Which means, other than getting a few bucks for well, really, I didn't even get a few bucks for gas, maybe, to go back and forth to my different 5 jobs at the time. That was about it. I didn't really ask for much of anything. But we're not going to get into that too much heavily, people. I ended up out here in the month of November. These things, folks, are not designed, and understand what I'm talking about. Like this one right here is 12 by 20. It holds all this junk that I have. If I'm working on something and I need to be out of the sun or out of something like that, a little bit of shelter. A little bit of shelter is better than none. But, folks, I just don't recommend it. These things are not designed for human dwelling. If you have the thought that you might want to do something like that, here's what I want you to think about doing, folks. Because you have people on YouTube that think shed life is great, from shack to chic and blah, blah, blah. Let me just tell you that, no, okay? If you have the money and you're considering that, I will sit there and say, find that one friend that we all seem to have that either is good with framing, okay, or knows a friend who stays sober, i.e. alcohol, bullets, and power tools don't mix, okay, ever, okay? Who's, they know a friend or they are the friend that has their own power tools. They can frame you. They can build this up, and you can even put a little bit of sweat equity into it to build you, i.e., that bug out, location place. The camp, the cowboy camp room, whatever you want to call it. The little bug out shelter or whatever. Because, folks, I'm gonna sit there and tell you this: when I moved out here, there was electricity, but only 110. It was I had maybe 3. I'm looking at the breaker box right now. I had 3 20 amp 110 outlets to it. The only source of heat I had out here was this little bitty heater called the Little Giant, and trust me, I couldn't get it above 44 or 46 degrees in here. At the time, I did not have a wood-burning stove in here. That came the next year. That first year, I froze. The first year, I burned up to death. These things are not good. They're a hot box here in Central Texas. I just don't, folks, recommend it. If you're thinking that you want to do that, I will ask you to put that out of your head and do this instead. Know the amount of money. I think back then, 10 years ago, this thing was like $5,000, 12 by 20, 240 square feet. Know the amount of money that you're going to spend. Find that friend and say, look, how much would you charge me to build something? Let's design this together, and I'm willing to put in some sweat equity. In other words, you're willing to help with the cutting, the framing, the hammering, the nailing, the putting up sheathing, the running the electrical lines, whatever the case may be. I'm just going to tell you, folks, that I do not recommend doing that. Going to the big box store, getting to the tool shed, putting, oh, there's the bunkhouse. That was the word I was looking for. I don't recommend it. For the main reason these things are not built for human dwelling. They're built exactly for what they're designed for, and that's to hold junk, tools, your riding lawnmower, spare tires, whatever the case may be. Well, I will tell you again, folks, over and over that a little bit of shelter is better than no shelter. When we're talking about a little bit more permanent basis for your bug out location, no. Matter of fact, with just a few simple instructions, and if you know someone who has the tools, you really can get out there and do it yourself. How do I know that? Because I'm building my house. So right now it's 1,800 square feet, and I'm not done yet. By the time I'm done, it will be 2,600 square feet and perfect for everything I need. We'll get a little bit more into all those kind of things that I think people, wind power, solar power, a few backup generators, the whole 9 yards, for another video. But for the person that asked me via email, and for other people that have asked me, you know, what was that like, Johnny? Do you recommend it, living in a shed? I do not. Like I said, you'll have some people that think it's great. I don't think they're thinking the whole plan through, or they had a different situation than I did. I did not have running water in mine. I had to walk over to a shanty I had built to take a shower in. One time it was so cold, folks, that the water I had coming on me was hot as I could stand it, but on the other end of the tub, the water was freezing. So I don't recommend it, folks, okay? Questions, comments, leave them below. Please understand, folks, if I don't get to your question, please, it's okay to tap me on the shoulder, send me an email at donnermusic@yahoo.com. Delta Oscar, November, Echo, Romeo, Mike, Uniform, Sierra, India, Kilo @yahoo.com. I'll try to remember to put it in the description for you, okay? Everything is up for grabs, folks, so don't be shy, okay? If you want me to review something, anything at all, if it's in my financial means, if you want to send me something to try, I'm good with that too, okay? Anything about prepping or anything that kind of stuff, don't be shy, okay? Because the dumb question is the one you don't ask. I would rather y'all learn from my mistakes and the things that I do that are, whoops, you know, than go out and blowing your own money. I'm a registered nurse. I am now blessed, people. I am doing so much better than what I was when I was living in this thing. Gracious God, always. Until I see you all again, folks, Johnny Practical Nurse, out here.